So today on In the Bucket List, we're going to start the 4-month process of making a batch of wine. So we're going to skip through the sanitation part because you already know it's just sanitize all your stuff, but then we'll work on getting the wine started, days 1 through 5. Okay, so everything here in front of me has been sanitized. I took the time and the effort and I highlighted anytime I'm supposed to sanitize anything or equipment. I tried to highlight in yellow. Anytime I need to take a measurement for like specific gravity, I also highlighted that in pink. And then I used purple for any specific temperatures. I also used a different shade of pink on the back side to let me know when I need to add like my yeast nutrients, and in this kit, it came with oak chips. So we're gonna try that out as well. So let's get the juice, the water, and take a reading. So my juice for the wine base needs to be between 65 and 75 degrees. How am I gonna do that? Because it is springtime and it still gets rather cold. I've actually come up with a creative solution. That is my creative solution. So I'm making sure that the water in here is not covering this, but I'm also making sure that the water temperature isn't too hot and that it'll actually balance at the desired temperature. How do I do that? Well, an infrared thermometer, because, you know, that happens. So I know it says 85 on the outside, but remember, this is going to get transferred to a container that is cold. And when you transfer something that's warm into a cold container, you lose heat retention. So this is a little on the warmer side, so when we put it in the bucket, it'll be the perfect temperature. So I got the bucket set up, and I'm going to try really, really hard not to touch any area inside the bucket as water drips off my hands. The reason I want to make sure I don't touch anything in the bucket or touch anything to the wine bag I'm just about to pour in is to basically prevent wild, quote unquote, wild yeast to the product. Wild yeast is a yeast that basically you get from when you do sourdough. Let's see here. This thing is super annoying. It doesn't say if it needs to pull off or what the heck is because as soon as I open it, there's going to be a gush of air and I don't want to drop it. Yes, I'm turning it. It doesn't seem to go either way, and pulling on it doesn't seem to be doing any good either. Okay, hang on. It popped. It was sealed on there pretty good. And it smells like grape juice. Like Concord grape juice. Slightly. No? It smells like grape juice, but there's something else there. Okay, now to get this in the bucket without spilling it everywhere, because that's what I'm trying to avoid. Ugh. The color is super dark. Like, ooh, it splatters. That is a super dark color. Now I know why wine makers have a lot of bubbles and stuff everywhere and everything gets stained. That is a gorgeous shade of red. You can kind of see it on the side of the bucket. It is So beautiful. Now let's get our water in here up to the 6-gallon line. So that's 6 gallons of wine. Now I have to stir vigorously for 30 seconds. Basically, we're off gassing, more bubbles. Did you know they have this thing called a degassing spoon? I have a barbecue scraper, flipper, spatula thing. Did I steal it from my husband? Maybe. Is he gonna know that I used it for this? Probably not until he sees my video. So stir vigorously for 30 seconds. I feel like I've poured a whole gallon of Welch's grape juice in here and then tried to clean it up just by adding more water but never using a sponge or paper towels. This reminds me of the beer making process where you have what's called a wort. And the wort is basically everything mashed up before you ferment it. Like you've added all your ingredients, you've cooked it down, but you haven't quite added the hops yet to make it alcoholic and let it ferment that way. And honestly, tried some wort. I think it was either, I want to say fresh squeezed or a different one. It might have been the hazy, but it was when me and Mr. Squirrel went on tour at Deschutes Brewery for our 10-year wedding anniversary, and you actually got to sample some of the wort of the current batch being produced. Just sell that as a non-alcoholic, please, because that was extremely delicious. I don't know how you're going to get vigorous in 6 gallons. So now we got to move this over to the table and take a specific gravity reading. 6 gallons is very heavy. 6 gallons is 50 pounds. 6 gallons weighing 50 pounds, carrying it by yourself and trying to get it onto a table is even more difficult, while trying not to contaminate said product or slosh it or spill it. For some reason, a 6-gallon barrel of wine at 50 pounds weighs more than my child, who weighs about 50 pounds, because it's less evenly distributed. Now for specific gravity. Need a pen. Okay, I'm gonna move that forward. On my paperwork, it actually has a spot for the specific gravity at the start. I don't have a wine thief. I'm gonna use a beer glass. Will that skew the results? Potentially. This has been sanitized. I filled some, a container with the sanitizer just in case I would need it. Oh boy. It doesn't say how much you need. But I'm wondering if a graduated cylinder would be best to do this with. I also don't want to fill this too full because there is a thing as displacement. I'm gonna put that back there. Take this and set it in here. Well, that's what it looks like when you do specific gravity. So it says we're looking for a target specific gravity of 1.075 or higher, and we're supposed to record it. I'm taking it, that's a 1, and it's sitting at the 70. It's not at 1.75. Or maybe it's lower. I don't know. There is no directions on how to read this thing. Come on, camera, focus. Focusing on this. I'm also wondering if it's because this thing is not in a tall enough glass. So I did a thing instead. It still looks like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So each of those lines is a 2-mark interval. I'm trying to make it out through the bubbles. Let's see. It's a couple of lines below, so I'm gonna say it's about where it needs to be. So I'm gonna call that a good one. So now it says that we need to check the temperature range, and if it's between 65 to 75, we can add the yeast. If it's not between 65 and 75, we have to leave it sit for an hour or 2 in a suitable environment. So let's check the temperature. And before we add the yeast, I really want to try this. And I think I'm going to. Wakey wakey thermometer. It says we're about 87. 88, 87, 74. So there's some hot pockets in here. Hot pockets. It's hotter in this open spot than it is thanks to the bubbles. Got about 77 degrees. So we're a little on the high end. So let's give it about 10 minutes and we'll check it again. So while I'm waiting for that to cool down, I've got myself a little sample of it. It's still, I took the temperature of it to see if it's about the same, and it said it's about 77 degrees. So we are gonna wait for it to cool down for, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes till it comes down those 2 degrees. But if you know me personally, and if you watch this channel, I have this thing where I like to try things you probably shouldn't when it comes to making stuff, especially in a bucket. So I really want to try this. It's probably going to taste like watered down grape juice because you add so much water to it, but I'm excited to see what happens. It does still smell like Concord grape juice, but better. Oh, it tastes so much better than grape juice. I mean, it's grape juice, but it's better grape juice. Ooh, it's really good. Even though it's warm, it tastes really good. So wine grapes are actually a specific variety of grape. So the grapes that you see on the bottle, so like a Cabernet or Champagne or anything that's made with wine, that type of grape is literally the name of the wine. So anytime you're thinking about, I wonder what kind of grapes they use for this, it's literally the grape's name is the name of the wine. Just in case you wanted some fun facts for trivia night. Okay, it is now a suitable temperature. We are going to add the yeast. Open your package of yeast and sprinkle on the surface of the juice. That's what we're gonna do. Sprinkle. Oh, the package doesn't want to. There we go. So this package is EC1118. I actually also use this type of yeast to make my meads. So it's a good yeast. I know it works well. So as I'm pouring the yeast in, the bubbles are being all knocked down. The bubbles do not like the yeast. Yeast. And sadly to say, all yeast kind of just smells. And yeast itself doesn't smell like bread. Okay, so I added the yeast, and now we gotta put the lid on. Before set this on my sanitized area and push the lid on. There we go. Oops, there's light there. So, place lid on for a mentor. Assemble airlock and bung. Okay, so the lid is on. And the reason you want to put the lid on before you put the airlock on is because if you put it on before, you could shoot out your airlock, because air that's trapped in here, when you push down the lid, it's just going to go. So you have like Vesuvius. Now I'll take my, they call it an airlock because it locks out air. So there's 2 max lines on this, and I want to make sure I get them properly situated on there, because there's 2 max lines, and I just want to make sure that it's done correctly, because if not, we're going to have other problems. Okay. I'm going to dump the water out of this because I thought to do it beforehand would be better. Apparently not.
So we'll do it the way the directions say.
And now to add the water in. Honestly, it's not going to take much water. Get the lid on. Anyways, let's go get this set up in its resting home, where I can daily take it out, stir it, and check for specific gravity. Because then we gotta feed it. This thing is like hauling around a 50-pound kettlebell. Okay, so you see this little thing here? This itty bitty little thing? My dear Mr. Squirrel lovingly made this for me because I didn't want it sitting on the ground, because then the ground would get cold. We didn't want the bucket to get cold if it needs to stay at a consistent 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And you know what's even better about this thing? I put fuzzies on its feet so it'll slide out easier. See? Fuzzies! And then that way, I can just, take this, set it on here. See how pretty that is? I designed the stupid stand, and then my husband awesomely made it. Now it's an awesome stand instead of just a coloring book drawing with crayons. So let's get this in here, and hopefully it fits, because I had to literally measure this in the bucket and the lid and everything to make sure it would actually fit properly. So let's see if I did it well. Perfect. And now we come back after 24 hours, stir, and check the gravity. So I'll see you tomorrow. Toodles. So it's now been 24 hours. As you can see, it's bubbling a lot. And from the sound of my voice, you can tell for Mother's Day, other than all sorts of fun gifts I was given, my kids also decided that I needed their head cold. So bear with me. So we got to get this lid off. It expanded quite a bit, like off-gassed a lot. So let's get this off, stir it, and get it back in there. It does not seem to want to come off. There we go. I'm going to check the bottom of the lid. It's got a bunch of condensation. Whoo, doggy. That is some interesting looking. Stir it up. Get all that yeast off this side also incorporated. And now it goes back in, and tomorrow we will check the specific gravity. So see you on day 2. So for the past 24 plus hours, this has been bubbling like that nonstop. And I'm going to take it out, pop off the lid, stir it, take a specific gravity reading. I don't think it's there yet because you're supposed to add yeast nutrients to it and hopefully get more fermentation. Something tells me with this amount of
off-gassing, I do not need that yeast nutrients yet. I will wait till it slows down a little. Can you tell that the wine is off-gassing? This is day 2. I was going to take a specific gravity reading and stir, but I just wanted to film how awesome the fermentation process looks. I guess I lied. I am now going to dissolve the yeast in warm water because it's the perfect specific gravity. So I'm going to dissolve the yeast and then add it to the bucket, and I'll show you that. So with our specific gravity reading correct, we're just going to add our yeast nutrients back to the barbecue scraper. Stir. Oh, it's bubbly. Put the lid back on, and we'll have to check it for the next couple of days until it reaches its next specific gravity. So it's day 3, and I am going to just take this, open it up, stir it, and put the lid back on. I'm not going to do a specific gravity reading till day 4, just because I notice it drops like 0.013% a day. So it's day 4, and it's time to do the specific gravity reading. We're looking for our specific gravity to be between 0.010 and 0.020. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. But if this turns out to be what we need for the reading on day 4, then I will stop and do part 2 of this video where I transfer all the stuff into the bucket. But we have to know if we're actually there. So, without further ado, let's get this lid off. The smell is no longer kind of a sweet, fun smell. The smell that we've been getting has been definitely a fermenting fruit juice smell. Not really great, but not disgusting either. But that's kind of getting there. That is super foamy in here. We'll let all the condensation kind of drip off the lid so it doesn't drip everywhere else. Ta-da! Before I put this in here, I'm actually going to stir it. See if I can't break down some of these bubblies. And just set that in there. Ah. Well, the bubbles have gone down. I wish this was more like a dipstick type thing, like in a car. Because then I could just take a reading off that. It's like at 1.0000. So, something tells me we'll be starting part 2 where we transfer all this into a secondary container for fermentation, where we actually get to leave it alone for like 10 days. So I guess that concludes part 1 of this video, and stay tuned for parts 2, which will be moving the process over with oak chips, because that'll be a new experiment, and how to bottle this, because it's supposed to give you 30 bottles of wine.
Rolling thunder, calling down my name.